Are you bored living a mediocre life? We were too, and we know how to change that. Each week, we'll leave our comfort zones to explore a new topic, then step onto our soapboxes, a safe space to sound off on our latest adventure. Come explore with us. All opinions are welcome. This is a mindset. This is a lifestyle. This is Siren Soapbox. Hello and welcome, fellow explorers. Thank you for diving in with us today. Our mission is to explore beyond comfort zones. Looking to take the first step outside of your comfort zone? Check out sirensoapbox.com for easy ideas you can explore with our blog, magazine, and even Eventbrite classes. We just did a cook-along this past weekend, and it was amazing fun. Join us for the next one. Everyone has stuff. You can either own it or let things own you. Here are 6 reasons, according to mentalhealthmatch.com, why organizing your space is important. Number 1, organizing saves time. You can spend less time figuring out where to put things when you already have a system in place. Organizing saves money. You can spend less money buying items that you do not need because you can easily see whether you already have it. Organizing saves your sanity. You can do less emotional labor if your family can access their things easily, participate in putting away their things, and help maintain your organizational methods. Organizing also allows you to clear your space emotionally. You can experience closure by purging items that you no longer need or that are weighing you down. Organizing allows you to experience feeling more grounded in your space. You can feel more at ease and less stressed in a home that is clutter-free. And finally, organizing allows you to feel more in control of your environment. You create your organizational system so that your space can achieve its maximum potential. All of these benefits sound fantastic, but how do we get organized? Sometimes we need a little help decluttering and making sense of our spaces. That's where iOrganize comes in. The Sirens each watch the YouTube channel for tips and tricks that we can apply to our lives. Let's find out how the Sirens did. But first, if at any time the conversation gets too intense, the safe word is
mango.
First up on her soapbox is Sarah.
So I feel like Christen, who does the iOrganize videos, I think she and I could be long lost sisters, really. I'm pretty into keeping things organized too. I'm a firm believer in a place for everything and everything in its place, something my kids hate. I've really always been that way. Yes, you could say I was born this way because my dad's exactly the same. I'd say he's even more vigilant than I am about putting everything where it belongs. It makes sailing trips much, much fun. I love watching Christen's professional organizer videos. Her advice is great, and the videos are quick and hilariously entertaining. I hadn't really thought about how to decide what belongs with other things when figuring out where to store something. So the video about storing something with its cousins, co-workers, or family was really cool. I used that process a few times this weekend when I was putting away all of my gardening tools. Bill certainly has that organizational skill perfected in the garage. Everything is labeled and in its home with its family or coworkers. It makes it really easy when I need to go in and find something. One of my favorite videos, though, is the series on the 4 attachments to the things that we own. Christen describes how everything we bring into our home has energy, emotion, responsibility, and physical space. Watching these videos was a really great reminder about how sometimes the right place for something you're trying to find a spot for could actually be in someone else's home. This is a message that we heard when we were doing the Minimalist Challenge, and it was a really good reminder about that. Bill and I are actually right now going through a large amount of belongings, ours and our kids, all of them, that was recently displaced by a basement flood at the home where all of that stuff was stored. Plus, we're in the process of slowly organizing our home office space. It'll be really good to refer back to these videos when it feels a little bit overwhelming, which it's starting to do. Jess, what did you organize?
Well, it's not what you would think. But first, I love organizing, like a lot. I hate it if I don't know where something is or if I have clutter in my house. My husband is the opposite, so he usually asks me to help him organize his office, hobby stuff, workshop, which I've done 3 times since we moved into the house in March. But I'm always happy to oblige because I like to see the end result in the work we did. Since we just moved, our house is actually very organized right now because I did most of the unpacking. Watching Christen's videos about moving tips, and I see we're kindred spirits because I do love me a good tape gun and fat Sharpie. I also have to label every box because I hate not knowing what's inside. My house is pretty organized, like I said, so I decided to attack a closet at work. It has become a catch-all for junk since the office was opened in the 70s. So I'm still working on it, but I love to go through the boxes and then I can relabel them and put them back on the shelf. So next time, hopefully it won't be so hard to organize. So far, I've gotten rid of 8 contractor bags worth of junk, donated about 7 boxes of binders and clipboards, and 3 boxes of old school paper. You know, the kind that you break off the sides with the holes in it? Yeah, there was 3 boxes of those in this room. So you can see the time capsule. I can't wait to see the finished product, and I keep watching Christen's videos for more tips and tricks that I can use. Mer, do you consider yourself an organized person?
I live in what I affectionately refer to as organized chaos. I have a home for most things, but things don't always end up where they belong. But I'm pretty confident I can locate anything I need no matter where it's living at the moment. And at work, I'm very organized because of I think I have some ADHD going on. So because of that, I've had to develop systems to keep me on track and employed. Like I have to write down everything that needs to be done for the day. I spend about 15 minutes every morning looking at my day and going back through the last week's emails to see if I've missed anything. Then I write it all down, and I even prioritize those tasks. And I almost always use a blank notebook for that because I can't commit to one journal style. That's not happening. I just create an index page on the very first page of my notebook, number the pages if they aren't pre-numbered. Write important things down there like password change is on page whatever, this reporting procedure is on page whatever, you get the point. But at home, I don't have to be as strict with myself, so I'm just not. I sometimes wish I were different, but then I remember that I'm perfect the way I am, and I move on with my unorganized life. I'm not very sentimental, so it is easy for me to get rid of things, although after my mom died in February, I was happy to find some old cards with her handwriting on them. So I feel a little differently about those things now. But I do have a little place for greeting cards. I just kind of tuck them away into a bin in my bedroom closet, which needs some work. I'm going to tackle that next. Even after the great purge of 2021, I've somehow accumulated a ton of clothes. But you can check out episode 50 for a glimpse at our minimalist challenge. That was a ton of fun. But Christen's videos on iOrganize, they've helped me to get excited about decluttering and reorganizing again. I've decided to take it one space at a time. Next on my list, I think I'm going to, like I said, the bedroom closet's going to need some work. So I think that's where I'm going next. And I'm ready for that space to be a little better utilized. TC, how do you feel about being organized?
Feels great to be organized. It's so nice when you know exactly where to go to find something and there's no rummaging. Just open the correct drawer and there sits your target. It's even better if the item is not jammed in so tight that it's difficult to get it back in the drawer and get the drawer to close. There's more to organizing than just putting things where they go. One of the first steps is getting rid of the things you don't need. I recently watched the video by Christen from iOrganize for attachments to things we own, the same one Sarah mentioned. In it, she explains that some items hold negative energy, things that remind us of unhappy moments or situations, toxic relationships, or a side of ourselves that we'd just like to change. This really spoke to me, as the area I chose to organize was my home office. I recently left a job that was not a good fit for me. I packed things from the office I left and brought them home with me. There were 2 bags of those items sitting on the floor of my home office as a result. I felt it was important to be sure I didn't keep anything that had negative energy for me. As I pulled items out of the bags, I asked myself how each item made me feel. Did it make me happy? Would I use it? Would I forget that I even had it? It was a fun exercise, and it really made it easier for me to get rid of things, even a few pens. I really minimized the negative energy being brought from the old office to the new office. I love my home office. I still have some organizing to do, some more drawers to go through, but the bags are off the floor and everything is in its spot. Toward the end of that same video, Christen offers a challenge. So I felt compelled to take the challenge. Why is it I have such a hard time passing up a challenge? She challenged us to leave a drawer or cabinet empty. So I was determined to empty at least 3 drawers in the 8-drawer tower that I have in my office. Done. And it really wasn't that difficult. I love any kind of challenge that helps me simplify, and this one definitely did. I'm pretty organized, but there's always room to improve. I mean, I'm no professional. Christen Fackler has been a professional organizer since 2009, but unofficially organizing for others since 1998. As a teenager, she held cash jobs such as babysitting and pet sitting. Even while working in those jobs, she found herself tidying up and arranging areas of the household. Clients would pay her extra to do it again. Christen has held a wide range of jobs, from being a nanny for quadruplets, working in restaurants, maid service in hotels, retail, and a snowboarding instructor. She eventually realized that organizing anything was consistently the best part of each job she had. So when she turned 25 in 2009, she started iOrganize. Organizing isn't all Christen does. She's also an athlete, musician, artist, lifetime learner, nature and plant enthusiast, animal lover, video game nerd, handy woman, and lover of living life. She fits right in with the Sirens. Sirens, please help me welcome Christen Fackler, owner of iOrganize, to this episode of Siren Soapbox.
Welcome to the show.
Yay! Hi, thank you so much. You guys are amazing.
It was so fun watching your videos. Christen, I'm a fan of the show Friends, and I'm curious if, like Monica, when you see something that's not organized, do you get the crave to organize it?
Oh, it depends on where I am. I have to filter myself often. It depends on my mood. If I need to feel in control, it depends on how much caffeine as well. I do have a tendency to kind of get lost, but sometimes getting too lost in the details and trying to keep everything perfectly organized is never realistic. We all have a level of growth. We can always be more organized, because being organized is like a life journey. You're always learning how to be more organized so you can live more simply ultimately. And that's why I love being organized, is so that I can enjoy my life. I can go find the things that I need for my activity or the tools that I'm working on, so I can go make that craft.
When you're stressed, do you tend to want to start organizing something?
Mm-hmm. I definitely notice. Yes. I definitely notice with my clients, getting to know different people and the way that they process information. Your environment reflects what's going on inside of here ultimately, and to feel in control, if everything is in its place, your mind can then be where it needs to be as well. I like to say a clear space is a clear mind. However, some people are very artsy. They're very creative. If they don't have items in their environment, they sometimes will lack motivation or inspiration. They like to fill their space with motivation. It really depends on the person. And ultimately, I just like to ask, what's the issue? What's the problem? How are you functioning your daily life? And the people that I'm helping just tell me, well, I'd like to be more efficient, or I'd like to be inspired more, but maybe a little bit more tidy. So it just really depends on the person.
So do you have a favorite space to organize?
Oh, paper. I'm a sucker for organizing paper. I'm mostly paperless. I do a lot of my task work and project management and things digitally on my computer, but I love helping clients that have piles and piles of paper, because there's so many ways you can attach each little piece of paper. So when I show up to a client, we just grab their piles and I just say, just tell me about this piece of paper. And then we just go through each little piece, because there's such a learning lesson in each item. What is where should it live? What does it mean to you? So yeah, I would say papers. And because I don't have papers, I need more people with papers so I can help them. Because I know papers are really overwhelming, and people don't know what to do with it. Even the junk mail, the junk mail that comes through, I need to do some videos on that. Like, people are like, is this real? Like the scams that come through, is this like the AAA? I don't know if you guys get like the AAA memberships. They look like
all
really
the
important
time,
or threatening. Like, open immediately, emergencies and urgent, and just to help people get through that stuff and just decrease paper. Oh yeah, you can tell I just started like going off.
I got super excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of organizing paper, one of the hardest things for me to get rid of, even though I don't claim to be a sentimental person, is my kids' artwork.
Yeah.
What do you do with all of that? Do you have any advice?
I do. It's good to keep it pared down. I've had a lot of mothers that I've helped that they'll save every little scribble, every scratch, but I mean, that can grow into gigantic piles. I try to encourage keeping things that have shows your child's imagination or special character versus just maybe something that they glued and just pasted, and the teacher kind of gave them the format. Everything's different to every mom. So, take the advice with a grain of salt. But as I get older and I look back on some of the things that my mom saved for me, and that she actually let me go through things as a kid too, which is great to get your kids involved. It's a life skill of deciding, how do I feel about this? Do I want this? So on and so forth. But yeah, anything that encourages or shows off their personality or makes you laugh or evokes an emotion ultimately. Yeah.
I took pictures of a lot of the artwork.
Nice.
Say, oh, look, this was really awesome. I love what you did here. Here, let's get a picture of it and then let's throw it away.
Nice. I've seen a lot of these creating books. A lot of people, I'm getting feedback online from videos about this topic, and people are saying they like to put them into the Shutterfly type of things. Seem to be really popular these days for the digital world. But I personally love a tactile piece of art that I made as a kid, and I have a little scrapbook that I had saved and put just all my real special pieces together.
Yeah, one of your videos, you had scrapbooks for different things. What do you do with the scrapbooks then? You have a shelf of scrapbooks?
I do. Yeah, I have a little bookshelf here, and just one row across is all just childhood artwork, journals and writings, cards and notes from friends, and they're themed. And I have about 2 feet of 38 years. So let's see, how many am I going to have in by the time I'm 60? I guess I'll need 4 feet. But I guess I made 4 as a kid. I think I'm going to be okay.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. That's a nice view there.
I saw in one of your videos, like at the end of a year or at the beginning of the next year, I think you would go through all of the mementos from the previous year and organize them into a book or something. And the cool thing about that is just kind of reminiscing about the memories from the year before. That was my favorite part of that particular piece of advice. I like the idea of doing that.
Yeah, I have a client actually that I was working with today, and she likes to age things a little bit, and that's just her process. So many people think we have this outside pressures of like looking perfectly organized or photo ready, and being organized, you can be messy and still be organized. When I'm busy, things get messy, and people might judge me and say, "Oh, wow, look at all those piles." She likes to age things because sometimes when there's some time that goes by, it's easier to look at things a year later if it's all just in one place. So yes, I like to keep my memorabilia on the same bookshelf there in a little file. I get a card or something and I'm like, I'm not quite sure. And then it's just a collection. Of course, there's a rule, like you can't just, sometimes like, oh, just because it's there, I get to throw it in, right? Sometimes like a garage, oh, just because the garage floor is clear, we get to just throw stuff on the garage floor, which is like you have to have the rules around it. So that at the end of each year, I get to sit down in the winter and hopefully do some scrapbooking and look back at all those mementos. And as my client was saying today, we went through a bin of some old papers from her desk that kind of moved down the desk and became outdated. So it was easier then to be like, oh, that's done. I don't need to do that anymore. And it's all good as long as there's nothing major missing, in which there wasn't. So yes. You guys are pretty sentimental. You keep lots of memorabilia.
I don't.
No.
And that's okay. I did until I had to move across the ocean.
That will, yes, moving will teach you a lot about. Yes, that's huge. That's a big lesson. You have to really look at all your stuff.
I think we also did the minimalist challenge right before I moved. So it kind of helped with the whole do I want to move this? across
Right.
halfway across the world? Like, no, I don't.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, I can't imagine. That's a big move. You have to take a hard look moving that far.
Yeah. I moved from Ohio to Hawaii, so like literally across the continent and then
That's
across
awesome.
the ocean. And it was, I just didn't really want to pack that much. Like we
Right.
decided we were going to move a container. But other than that, plus we were renting before we bought our house here. So I was like, I'm going to have to move it across the ocean. Then I'm going to have to move it again. No, I don't need that.
I found with the two older kids and then one a little bit younger that seeing all of the things that I accumulated memorabilia wise with my two older kids, with poor Ben, yeah, I didn't keep so much with him. I almost feel bad about it. Not that his stuff wasn't as important. I just realized that once you keep some kids' memorabilia, it's awfully hard to let go of it. I have yet to sit down with my two older kids, even though they're not living in the house anymore. I'm still yet to sit down with them and go through everything with them and say, look, see this? I love this. It was awesome. But look, watch, I'm throwing it away now because I feel kind of weird throwing it away without them seeing me do it.
That helps.
So they can't come back one day and say, hey, remember that thing?
Right. Right.
Well, plus they have the option to take it then. Like you can say, I'm clearing this out of my space. You're more than welcome to keep it in yours.
Yes,
So
that's
you're giving
true.
them that option.
And it's a little bit of a tender topic, but we all have to think about later down the road in life, who do we want to be going through our stuff? Don't we want to have the things left behind that are important, that, you know, my mom's going through things right now and she's like, this is your great grandfather's, by the way, but I'm getting rid of all this other stuff. So it's good to look down the line and move those things along before later.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I am immortal though. So
you also got to figure your kids might not know what it is. Like my mom actually just did that because they were moving. They were just moving to the next town, but she realized that they just had so much stuff, and she would text me and be like, do you want this? And send me a picture. I'm like, Mom, I don't even know what that is. And she's like, okay then.
Right.
But it's like, I mean, obviously it meant something to her, but when she decided to keep it, but now it doesn't. And she's like, if you don't want it, then I'm just getting rid of it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but to that same point, if you do have something that's been passed down, like I have some things from my grandmother that I got after my mom passed away, and I would probably want to hand that down to the kids, but you want to do that at a time where you're still able to tell the story, you know? So it's good to think about that stuff, I think. So Christen, can you tell us a little bit about the 4 attachments?
Oh gosh, yes. It used to be just energy, emotion, and responsibility. And then I realized, well, you got to have that physical space involved there too. I think a lot of people have trouble decluttering, and that's the biggest thing that I help people do. I'm side by side with people, and they're trying to figure out how they feel about, you know, this item. And we just talk it through. And so I was trying to think of how can I teach people what's involved with each item. If you think about every single little item in your home that has energy, emotion, responsibility, that's a lot. So when you take it all together and you start to look around, you're like, ooh, yeah, it's time to declutter a little bit. So that really, that's a really important part of the decluttering process when I'm sitting there with clients. And then the more, of course, we work together, they'll start to hear my little voice and be like, how does that feel? What does the energy feel like when you hold that? And so clients will say like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess. And so then I'll just be like, hey, if you've liked that, you'd have been like, oh, look at this. I love that. And wouldn't you want that item to be in your space versus that thing over there that you're like, yeah. So that's the biggest part of that whole process. But energy being, yes, negative and positive energy, recognizing how it feels in that space. Plants, love plants for me. I imagine most people, good energy, lots of plants. That's basically how I decorate with. It's just plants. I don't really. It's at an arts and crafts festival this weekend, and I was looking at all these little decorative pieces, and I was like, I don't want any of this. I just want to keep decorating with plants. Unless it has a function, then I have a tendency to get that. And then of course, energy, then emotion. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you feel happy? And no emotion is wrong or right. If this makes you feel sad, that doesn't mean you have to throw it away. You know what I mean? It's just to recognize that that's how it makes you feel right now. And there's a journey and a process in that, and whether it's grieving or heartbreak. And then the responsibility is the third one. And that is when I go shopping and I think, oh, I want to buy this new thing. And then I think, do I have to clean that? Will I have to maintain? Is that another thing to add to my cleaning list on Saturdays? And yeah, if it's going to add more responsibility or add to the stacks of things already, then I might not acquire it. And I think sometimes people don't think about that. They'll bring stuff home as they have to maintain it. And then lastly is number 4 is physical space. And that is, will it fit in your space? People will go to the store or somebody will acquire something and then realize there's no room for that. Of course, then the common organizing rule is, bring stuff in, get stuff out. One comes in, one goes out. But if you're really need to declutter, maybe the rule is 1 thing comes in and 3 things go out. So it just depends on where you are in your journey.
I love that you brought up, like before we started recording, we were just kind of chitty chatting, the cleaning versus organizing, because I don't really consider myself I definitely don't like vacuum as much as I should.
Yeah.
But I am a very organized person. I can tell you where everything is. It might have some dust on it and some cat hair, but I can tell you where it is.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting that that distinction, I think, is a good thing to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. We do most of us will start to clean, and we have cleaning involved in our routines. And then we start cleaning and we get in, and it happened to me the other day. I was getting into the kitchen sink, and then I realized there was a leak. So I had to pull everything out and kind of shuffle and do a little declutter. But it is good to set aside that some time and focus on just the activity of organizing, which is actually in the middle of writing an ebook, which I'm super excited about. Writing a book is such a process, but there's 4 categories during the organizing process that I do with every client, no matter what job it is, no matter what project it is. And that's to purge, sort, contain, maintain. And those can be done in any order. It doesn't have to be methodical. It can be one and then the other and then back again. And so that's like the process, the general process that I always follow.
So can you explain to our listeners the difference between, I think it was coworkers, cousins, and family members? Is that what you said?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is something I used to use with my clients. And I would always just say, oh, go put it with its friends. And I didn't come up with personifying items other than just friends until maybe 2 months ago. So this is fairly new for me. And I'm trying to think of like the actual description. So you put something with its coworkers, cousins, coworkers, family. Family is, let's see, what is it? It's a glass. Put it with the other glasses, and that's its family. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Oh gosh. So I don't know if I come up with it on the spot right away. Because sometimes it depends. It's a perception. So if you have an item and it's a headphone, family would be with its other headphones in the drawer. But cousins could be, or coworkers could be microphones. It could be coworkers is if you are going to use your headphones for you're going to film a TikTok or a social media video, and you need your ring light and you need all the tools involved with that type of activity, then you want to put it with its coworkers. So then all those coworkers are together for that activity, and that's where you go to get those items. And then cousins would be, it's similar to that item, but maybe just a little bit of an offshoot. They have a similar function, like knives would be to scissors, pens would be to markers, so on and so forth. I hope that was clear.
Yeah, that was helpful. So something that at least a couple of us have a bunch of are board games. And I find those really hard to keep organized because all the boxes are like different shapes and
Yeah.
everything's just like different sizes. How do you have any advice for board games?
Ooh, that's a challenge. That really is, because I think in most homes we don't have the ideal storage for board games, because the ideal storage is usually like a cabinet that's clean and in a good environment as far as humidity and temperature. But that stuff's usually those cabinets and those ideal, the real estate. Sometimes I talk about real estate being anything within reach right here. So that's like where all the commonly used items are. So that real estate gets filled first, and then the board games are like, where do they go? Ultimately, lots and lots of shelf space. Hopefully, if there's an area for open shelving, lots of flexible space. Sometimes we have a tendency to limit ourselves with cubbies, which aren't always bad, don't get me wrong, but we limit ourselves with smaller things, where if I'm going to encourage somebody to create a space, I always say, get something with adjustable shelving. You want flexibility for your space to be able to change. And if you get a piece of furniture or a piece of storage, a storage item that limits that, then you run into a wall, because then it fills up and you have no wiggle room to adjust or change a shelf. Especially with the board game, if you continue to acquire more board games and it's this big box, it's like a pantry. Pantries are so hard to organize, because you get the cereal box that's the family size, and then you get the small box, and then the peanut butter jar. You go to Costco and you get a 6-pack, and that takes up more space. So it's just like ever changing. It can never be the same because it's ever changing. So you have to have flexibility. And if you don't have that flexibility, it's usually really, really tight. Stacking like items together is always, the best bet, putting like items. I'm not a fan of digging for things. If I have to like go find something and I got to dig through something, no, I need to be able to get it right away. So if I had more board games, I would want lots of shallower shelving, so you don't have 10 board games stacked on top of each other, and it's like Jenga, you're pulling the bottom one out and then the stack falls over.
It is the game, getting the board game out.
Right. That's right. Yeah. What's that?
It's like Jenga before you play Jenga. It's like pulling out one board game without collapsing the whole stack of all the board games.
It's really the Jenga warm up.
What's amazing to me is that games are such an important part of my life. And I don't know that I have ever specifically bought a storage shelf for board games. Yeah. And that doesn't make sense. I'm suddenly realizing that does not make sense.
It might be time.
I know.
You have a lot of bags for all of the dice games.
I have so many games. And I do have some bins and some bags that the dice go in, and those are all pretty organized, but I haven't really bought like the ultimate game shelf. I feel like I need to start looking into that.
You're inspiring me, because I love jigsaw puzzles, and I have 2 puzzles that I'm renting a home, so I'm limited with what I can, utilize. And I have these 2 puzzles. I'm like massive, and I can't fit those in my game cabinet, and it drives me insane. So I have them in a closet across the hall from the game cabinet. So I might have to do the same. I like it.
Don't you have 3 empty spaces in your new home office, Tracy?
Yes, but those are drawers, like in a tower. They would not very many of my games would fit there. It's got to be I feel like the games belong in the living room somewhere, because we play games so often.
So what I think I'm going to do is use my living room closet. So right now my board games are kind of like stuffed up in the hall closet, and then my towels are in a cedar chest in my room. So everyone has to go into my room to get a towel. So I'm going to move the board games to the front closet and put the towels in that closet, but I'm going to put some shelves in for the board games. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Love it.
Yeah, that's great advice.
So much inspiration, Christen. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes. So it makes me so happy to know that I can maximize playtime. And that was my goal as a kid, my best friend Rebecca was my first client. We were giggling the other day. We were texting. She was like, "I was your first client," because I would sleep over and on the floor next to her bed and lift up the dust ruffle. Remember those?
Oh,
and
yeah.
see under her bed and be like, "Oh," and then so like late at night while she was sleeping, I'm secretly organizing her stuff. But then we would want to go play. Like, where's the walkie-talkies? Where's the Barbies or whatnot? Like, I don't know. I'm like, we need to organize your toys so we can maximize playtime.
See, you are like Monica. That's so Monica of you.
That was a very Monica thing to say.
So one thing that I realize about myself is if I don't put something away, then it means it's not living in the right place. Like for me, everything has to be organized in a way that makes sense and that is handy. Things need to be located where I would use them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll put them away in some other random location and they won't make it back to their home.
Yeah. Yeah. Perception on how people group things is so different. And when I'm with a client, I try to say, where would you put it? Because in my mind, I'm immediately categorizing. So I'll give them examples to be like these three items, these three areas make sense to me. Of course, like we could always say family, cousins, and coworkers. Where would the cousins be? Where would the coworkers be? But there's something to say also for where do you want it when you need it? So it's kind of like having it on call, having it ready to go. But if you do that with too many things, you can't keep track of it all. Like, oh, I'm just going to stick this. I'll watch my clients and I feel kind of bad. They're like, I'm just going to stick this over here. And then I'm going to stick that there. I'm like, but you just did that with 20 things and you're not going to remember. So I have to like, hey, what are you putting there? Why? But I'm nice about it. I try not to be too mean.
It's so important though. Cause like I told her I did most of the unpacking in the house.
Yeah. Wow.
I should have left the kitchen for my husband because he does all the cooking, but I didn't. And he still complains about like, why is that over here? Why is that over here? And I'm just like, you know what? It made sense to me in my head. Of course, I spend zero time in the kitchen. So it probably didn't really, but if I didn't do that, then I think the boxes would still be in the kitchen. So,
well, you got it done. Just taking it to the next level is maybe a shared process. I'm lucky that my partner Julie, she takes over the kitchen and does most of the cooking for us. And we just recently moved into our new place, back in January, so we're a couple months in. And so she's away on a trip, and I realized, oh God, I gotta get in that kitchen. So I've been reorganizing the kitchen this week, and I'm hoping that she likes the changes when she gets back. So we'll see. I hope so. But I realized I didn't really
give us an update on that.
Yeah. Could you please do a TikTok about how that works out for you? I'm very curious about that one.
I will. Hopefully, she's usually very happy with whatever I do because she's an artist. So as far as like things being inspirational is where her processing is. So fingers crossed. I think it should be good.
So can you give us some examples of places where you would use your bring it to you instead of digging and reaching?
Yes.
Technique.
Yes. I love that. Oh, yes. That's a good question. I consider myself somewhat tall, I guess 5'7". I hate to bend down for things. I don't like getting down under there. I gotta reach. I sound pretty lazy. Anytime I'd have to reach deep shelves, you're trying to look way up high and it's dark and you can't find anything. So anytime you can pull something down that's way up there, and down under cabinets that are dark, you can't see anything, bring it towards you, pull it out, look through it in the light. Just anything out of reach. It's like that real estate that I talked about. Prime real estate is just standing up within reach. And if there's height differences in the family, a step stool in every room. Just there's these great heavy duty foldable step stools that a lot of people seem to acquire. I don't know what the brand is, but they're awesome because they can slide in between the fridge. So that's really helpful for people with different heights.
Yeah, that would be like Jess and Ben, and also TC and Dean.
Yeah. Step stools, yes, come in handy.
Step stools are so essential.
Yeah. And when it's like upstairs or in the other room, it's just, it's one extra step. Again, maximize that playtime.
My house is 900 square feet. So if you don't know what that is, it's fucking tiny. Okay. Like it's not very big, but I have two of those step stools in my home because I have an attic where I put like decorations and things like that. And if I don't have a step stool right there to pull the hatch down, things aren't going up into the attic. They're just going to sit there until I pull out, whatever. And then I have one in the kitchen because I have some really tall cabinets that I like to use.
Great job. Great job recognizing that the stuff is going to sit there below the attic door. And that's something that I'll do going to a client's house is to analyze those piles. Is there a pile at the top and the bottom of the stairs, or is there a pile by the door? Analyze those habits. Do I need a system with some rules, or do I need a container or a basket or some shelving? Not for everybody. You have to, some people might say, oh, well, if I put a shelf there, I'm just going to end up dumping stuff on it. So a pile is better. Hey, cool. Hang a bag on a doorknob, but seeing your habits and seeing those piles and creating systems for all the different things that you're doing around your house. So that's awesome that you recognize that. Because to take like one little item up to the attic to put it in that bin, it's like, no way, I'm just gonna throw it up there.
That is,
of course, when your husband is 6'8", the top of the fridge becomes a shelf.
Oh, right.
The top of the cabinets become a shelf. And then he says,
that could be him. Those are his cabinets.
And then he asks me where stuff is. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh no.
My house is 558 square feet. We just figured it out not too long ago. So even a little bit smaller. Yeah. So that whole space part of the 4 attachments really meant a lot to me, because anytime we think about buying anything, it's a matter of space. Does this deserve space in our home? Because neither one of us like clutter. So when you have 2 people, 2 dogs, living in 558 square feet, space becomes really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you don't need that much. We travel a lot. We stay in an Airbnb, and I'm sitting here like, all right, I have a backpack and I'm in an Airbnb for a week. I don't have that much stuff and I'm perfectly happy. Why do I have all that stuff at home?
Right. I know. It's amazing. When you live small, we just moved from a small studio apartment, just basically one big room. Things can start coming out of the seams so quickly soon as it starts to lose its shape, versus like a bigger place. You don't know things are getting out of control in a bigger home because, again, it's just that garage or that basement, that's that unthought about room that you're able to just fill. So it doesn't allow you to just naturally fill it because it's going to be right there in your face.
So, Christen, I am dying to know if you have a junk drawer.
That feels like a yes.
I know.
I think the thing that's
she won't answer.
I'm not. No. I got that was like lots of like an explosion in my brain of like different things to say. The closest thing I think I have to a junk drawer is my glove box in my car, because cars lack thorough storage and organization. So in my one video that I did bring it to you, I just have a Ziploc bag, and that's just kind of like every little tool I need for my car. And I don't necessarily have a junk drawer, but I'm not opposed to a junk drawer. I think junk drawers are just fine. Again, it goes back to what's the problem? Are you having an issue? Is there any health or safety issues? Are you frustrated because you really can't find stuff and you want to find stuff? But otherwise, I'm not opposed to a junk drawer. No, that was fun.
I definitely have a junk drawer, and I know exactly what's in it. Like, I probably can't tell you, like, rattle off a list of things, but if I'm looking for something, I'm like, oh, it's in the junk drawer. That's where it belongs. That's its home.
And it makes sense to you and it's functioning. Yeah.
Do you ever have those moments where you're not sure where something is, and so you try to get it out of your mind, and then maybe 3 hours later you might be driving or taking a shower and you're just like, it's in the top shelf in the second box over, and you get out of the shower and you go look, and yep, there it is. It just suddenly comes to your mind where something is located.
I do that 50 times, and each time I do it, no, it wasn't there, and I'll come up with another place. Oh, I know where it is, and I'll go there. Not there.
Can someone do that with my earrings I've been looking for like 3 weeks? I don't know. I really can't remember the last time I wore them or where I would have put them. And we just moved. They should have come up when I was unpacking things, but I don't know.
Be fine.
This is a completely off-topic question, but it's something that I noticed in Kristen's videos. When you're holding up your fingers to represent a number, can everyone just at the same time, without thinking of it, hold up the number 3 on your fingers?
I'm left-handed.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
I'm right-handed.
And which way? Turn yours around, Mer. I can't see what you're doing. Okay. Yeah, that is really uncomfortable for me. I always do it this way.
That is much more
And so-
comfortable.
See, to me, that's like, okay.
That's not how I do it.
Yeah, it is, but it's also 3. So if
It's-
I'm doing like, I'll do 1, 2, 3, and Dean's like, so you totally change the way your fingers are. So Kristen, she does 1 like with a thumb and 2 and 3 when she's counting on her videos. And I noticed that this is her 3, and that's not that
Hard.
easy for me to do either.
Me either.
But if you're counting, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
See, that 4 is super uncomfortable.
I also noticed I text with my thumb and my thumb and my pointer.
Oh, that's a little different too.
I'm a different breed. Is that how you
Okay, so how do you snap? Like what fingers do you, when you snap your fingers? You do it this. So I can't do it very,
My
I
middle.
do this one.
Wow. What's that, pinky?
Which one is that?
It's the one next to my
ring
It's
finger.
like your
That's a
ring
ring
finger.
finger.
That is so
Wow. Yeah.
weird. Now
I
I
also
do.
just realized I just snap with my right hand and not my left.
And you're left-handed?
Yeah, and I'm left-handed.
I can do it with
I-
either one, but
I
I
can
do
it with
I
my
do
left,
that.
but it feels weird.
Me too.
Good attention to detail.
Yeah, I notice it all the time when you're doing 3, you're like this. And so every time
Yeah.
you're on a video and you do 3, so if you're listening and not watching, she holds up her thumb, her pointer, and her middle finger. And that's not comfortable for me. But every time you do it on a video, I do it back to you. You don't know this because you can't see me, only I can see you. And I'm like, could I get used to that? I don't know.
That's awesome. Wow.
See, now we're going to watch videos and we're going to want to like text Kristen with our thumb and our index finger and say, guess what I just did?
Please do. I would love that. Now I'm just going to add a solidarity. I'm going to make a video and I'll
I'll comment on it when you
Yeah.
do.
Cool.
I'll just
No,
do
you
a picture
don't.
like this.
perfect.
And for you, TC.
That's right. So Dean and I just read an article about how you hold up the number 3, and there is a way that that men do it more often than women. Like there's a difference in the gender, but I don't remember what's what.
It's like
I
looking
just
at your
remember-
nails. People like, I don't know, some people look at their nails like this and then some do this.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a gender thing, but I don't know. I would do that.
I do that too. I
Yeah.
fold my hand and look at it on top of my palms. For the people listening at home.
What other weird habits do we all have?
I do
I don't
love
know
to
if we have
watch,
enough time
watch
for that.
I do love to watch and pick out people's little idiosyncrasies like that. I do that at work
Yeah.
all the time. And then
Mhm.
I'll tell someone one and they're like, whoa, I do that. It's
Are
kind
you a
of-
highly sensitive person?
in
What do
what
you-
way?
I was going to say, what do you mean by sensitive?
So it's actually a term. It's HSP, and it can be tied into. I'm not an expert, but ADHD, autism spectrum, neurodivergency, sensory, attention to detail. So a day at the Arts and Crafts Festival, I stayed way too long because there's so many little details, and some people that are HSP, highly sensitive, will pick up on more details. If there's 100 details in a room and a highly sensitive person's in there, they'll notice, 99% of those details where someone that's not as highly sensitive may notice 20.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pay attention to that. I'll tell you that if I go to a restaurant and there's like a multi-page menu, I can't order. I just hand it to Dino and I'm like, you're gonna have to pick
Yeah.
something out for me.
Too
It's
many
too much.
choices. Yeah.
Too much.
Decision fatigue.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Christen, before we started the episode, you said that you had come up with a challenge for our listeners. And I think that we would love for you to throw that out to them this week.
Yes. Some notes. Don't let clutter control you. Be in control of your clutter. So what I'd like to challenge you to do is make time for organizing. The activity of organizing is to purge, to sort, put like items together, what's the third one? Blanking out. Contain.
Purge, sort, contain.
Contain. Find the container. Decide how you're going to contain that category. And then maintain. Decide how you're going to maintain. So those 4 things is the activity of organizing. So prioritize that. Put it into your schedule. Pick a category of things, your clothes, your games, or pick a room that's been challenging you or getting in the way of maximizing your playtime. So prioritize and schedule your organizing.
I love that challenge. I'm looking forward to doing that myself. Make sure that you tell us all about how this went by using the hashtag Siren Soapbox and all the social medias, and by reaching out to Christen. Christen, do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes. Well, my website is www.iorganizeeverything.com. You can find all of my social media there. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights with us today. And Sirens, thank you for all of your insights as well. I always learn so much from you guys. This is amazing. And thank you, fellow explorers, for listening to this episode. Go ahead and click like and subscribe wherever you're listening. That will help us reach more curious people just like you. You'll be able to find links to Christen's website from our website, sirensoapbox.com. And while you're there, you can also submit a challenge to us. Just click on the Contact the Sirens page and submit the form with your idea. If we accept the challenge, you could be invited to join us on the next episode, or on that episode. Probably won't be the next episode. Until next time, dive in, stay curious, and be happy.
Happy organizing.
People do it with us.
Happy too. I was raising my hand because I wanted to say we could all say happy organizing together.
We can.
Yeah,
We can.
Countdown 3, 2, 1. Happy organizing.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Wait.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
3,
2.
Happy organizing.
organizing.
We are so bad at the saying things together. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Siren Soapbox, and a special thank you to C Strings for providing our music. Snag their latest EP from iTunes today. Follow the Sirens on all the social medias, and don't forget to tell your friends about us. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll catch you next time on another episode of Siren Soapbox.